Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today I wanted to show you guys the Meta Quest 3 and talk about the best virtual desktop settings for 2025. As we know, a lot of people use their Quest 3 to stream PCVR from their PCs and the wireless, and a lot of people overwhelmingly use the virtual desktop wireless feature because it's the best way, in my opinion, to use PCVR on the Quest 3. Yes, you can connect the cable with the link cable, but you'll get more compression off of that than you would if you used, the wireless settings that I'm about to show you with virtual desktop. You'll get a much better image quality, and it will be wireless on top of that if you have all the requirements that we're going to talk about in this video set up in place. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about in this video that I'm kind of excited to dive into. It's not just about the Quest 3. It's obviously about the alien ship that landed here behind me. This is the new ASUS router that's right here behind me. That, technically the Quest 3 doesn't support Wi-Fi 7, so this router is definitely overkill if all you had was the Quest 3, in my opinion. But if you have other devices in your house that are going to support Wi-Fi 7, like maybe your iPhone or just other devices in general, then obviously Wi-Fi 7 is going to give you even faster speeds on those same 6 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi bands, because that's what Wi-Fi 7 does. It just makes those bands even faster than they were before and have further reach. But even if it doesn't support Wi-Fi 7 like the Quest 3, you're still going to get the benefits of this router in some way. We'll talk about that in the overview, but you'll still get like the multiple bands that you'll have for the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi. You'll still get the great coverage that this router has had based on my experience of covering my whole entire house, first floor and bottom floor. And you'll be future-proof for when the Quest 4 comes out and probably does support Wi-Fi 7. So there's still a lot of benefits for this router, but you don't need this one. It's just the one I have. But the point is that if you have at least a Wi-Fi 6E router or a Wi-Fi 7 router, you're going to get a great performance following these virtual desktop settings that I'm showing you here today. And if you guys want to support me and the channel, make sure you check out the links in the description below for the router, for the Meta Quest 3, and for virtual desktop itself. Let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
All right, guys, so here is the ASUS ROG. This is the GT-BE98 Pro router, as you guys are looking at here. Now, this router has so many features that we're not going to be covering in this video because it will need a complete deep dive on this router. So if you guys want me to make a specific review on this router, let me know in the comments down below. This is more of an overview and how the experience has been in my wireless in my house, and just PCVR in general wirelessly. But here's the router itself. Like I said, it looks like an alien. Look at all these antennas that you have here. Love the customization of the RGB. I love my RGB that you have on here. And then obviously all the buttons here are showing your WAN connectivity, your LAN connectivity, the 5 gigahertz. So one of the things I love about this router that my other one didn't have is that it actually has two 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi connections. So you can see that right here there's one and there's two. You can see it right there. They're all differentiated. 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi is up, the 5 is up, the 6 gigahertz 1 is up, and the 6 gigahertz 2 is up. Now, what would be the purpose of that? Like, why would you want to do that? Well, let me show you right here really quickly on my phone. Basically, what that allows is I can, obviously with interference and stuff like that, for a lot of people tell you, hey, only connect your Quest 3 or your Play for Dream headset on the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi so you don't receive any other interference from anything in your house, which means that anything else that supports 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi, for example, my Samsung phone that I have here, the Galaxy Z Fold 7, I couldn't have connected to the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi if I didn't want to, have any VR performance issue with virtual desktop and I wanted to eliminate any interference. So with this one, basically what I did is that I still have my Smart House 6G Wi-Fi, like you guys can see here, and there's still the 5G one sitting there, but there is the Smart House 6G VR only. So basically I only connect my Quest 3 and my Play for Dream headset on here, which is part of the second network that I have set up for 6G. And that allows me to basically separate this. So now I can still connect my devices that support 6G connect it to this without worrying about interference, and then only connect my VR headsets to the other band that they have for 6G that separates it all out, which is really nice. And then I also have one for Smart House LOT, which basically lets me separate everything that's internet of things. So basically anything that's, my smart house stuff or like my Google Home and all that stuff gets connected to that one there. And then you have the smart house 5G and the regular smart house 2.4. So that really makes it great for VR. The fact that you can separate it out and still be able to use a different band for 6 gigahertz is great. So you can still use your other devices. So I really like that. And I really like the look of this thing. First of all, look at that see-through there. I really like the way that that looks as well with the RGB lights and everything. It really looks like a freaking alien has landed on here. It's really super cool. As somebody who's a gamer and stuff, I think it fits the theme of this room really well. Obviously, it's not a router look for everyone, but I love the look of it. It definitely grabs attention as soon as you walk in, and I think it looks awesome. And more importantly, it performs really well. Is the router page that you have on here. I'm not going to go through every single setting because I don't want to show my whole entire network here for the world. But as I scroll down here, you can see there are the different bands that I was talking about for 2.4, 5, 6, 1, and 6, 2. You can see I have 63 clients online right now. You can see network. You can see network traffic sitting right here, which is good. Network ping status, like all the stuff. It has all these gaming features. You can change the LED lights and everything, and all that stuff is all there. You have a bunch of different stuff. You can even set up meshes. I don't have any meshes because I don't need it, but you could if you wanted to, which is great if you wanted to do that. They have AI protection, like if you want to turn that on and stuff. You have game acceleration that prioritizes game devices and all that, which is all here. You can set up your open NAT, which is really important, and enable port forwarding really easily. See all the games radar stuff for different games that are on here. You can even set up a VPN if you want to set up a VPN so everything on your internet goes through traffic. And don't forget, wireless 7 actually works on all the different bands. So the Wi-Fi 7 that I was talking about before, that's going to give you better performance and better speeds, is because it works on all of them. Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 5.0, and Wi-Fi 2.4. They'll all get better speeds and better Wi-Fi coverage because of Wi-Fi 7. The only thing with Wi-Fi 7 is it doesn't have the furthest reach. Which is why I put my router right in the same room as VR, just to eliminate all those issues. But you can see the Wi-Fi 7 symbol is on every single one that I have set up because that is the way that it works. It just helps everything work a lot better. The only one that's not connected with it is the Smart House LOT, because some of the internet devices that you have for your smart home may have issues connecting to Wi-Fi 7 with backwards compatibility, so these are separated out. There's even USB ports on the back of this thing, so you can set it up on a server if you want to. You have iCloud support, Alexa support, you can connect it to Google Home, firewall, administration system log, all the stuff that you would expect on here. Really easy to get to on your computer, and setting it up was a breeze. I have Optimum at home. I currently have a 1 gig line. I'm actually upgrading my internet to 2 gigs this Friday, so I'm excited for that. It shouldn't really make any huge benefits for the VR performance because I'm already maxing that throughput out. But regardless, for downloading Steam games and things like that, I upgraded my house with 2.5 gigahertz switches. I got this router here, which has LAN ports that support 2.5. My PC also has a 2.5 gig Ethernet port on the back, so the internet speeds are going to be crazy in this house, going from 1 gig to 2 gigs when downloading massive files and stuff, which is going to be great. But again, that's not really going to make a huge difference for VR. 1 gig is going to be plenty, and it's going to max out that throughput regardless, because we're going through wireless when it comes to these VR headsets. All right, guys, so here we are with virtual desktop here, as you guys can see on the Meta Quest. And as you can see here, I'm going to show you guys the settings that you need to set this up. So here on virtual desktop here, if I go ahead and launch this, you can see under options, the preferred method when you have a Wi-Fi 7 router, in my opinion, is of course H.264 Plus, because it gives you a bit rate of up to 600 megabits per second, which we'll showcase that here in a minute. But that is the one you want to use if you have a Wi-Fi 7 router, because it's going to get you the best visual quality, and also not only the best visual quality, but also the max bit rate that you can get because of that, and your speeds and stuff like that. Now, you also have the option of using AV1 10-bit Quest 3, so if your internet speed is not like a 1 gig line or something like a 1 gigabyte line, AV1 10-bit will max out at 200 megabits per second, so that will be a lot easier for people to keep up with if they don't have like a 1 gig line, which is obviously definitely what you need if you want to be able to run something like 600 megabits per second. Even with a Wi-Fi 7 router, you need a really fast internet connection to obviously go with it. So this is obviously optimized for the Quest 3 because of that. So if you want to use AV1 10-bit, go ahead. But if you want the best visual quality, you have a Wi-Fi 7 router. and you have a 1 gigabyte internet line, then like I do, then H.264 plus is what you want. You want these two options: two pass encoding and adaptive turned on. 2 pass is definitely going to use more PC power, so make sure that you have like a 4090 or a 5090 if you're running stuff like this. VDXR runtime is what you want. Allow remote connection, start with Windows, all that stuff is fine. In advance, you can go ahead and set the render resolution to 144%, which is what I use. If you want to, higher the resolution of what you can get with this, so I leave that at that resolution there, and it runs really good because of my 5090 that I have. And that's pretty much it for here. So we're going to go ahead and leave that alone. Now, going into the virtual desktop settings themselves, if we go into here, I have it set to 90 frames per second. I'm going to max out the desktop bit rate, not that it really matters, but I'm going to leave that just like that. Everything else here can stay as is. Go into streaming, and these are the options that you have here. So we're going to go ahead and set this to Godlike, which is the highest tier that a Quest 3 offers here. That's telling you you should have at least a 4090, so Godlike. You can see the VR frame rate. I'm going to go ahead and set this to 90 frames per second right there, and we're going to set the bit rate all the way up to 500 megabits per second, which is the highest that the Quest 3 can go with what we were talking about before. 500 megabits per second is the highest that you can get out of a Quest 3 running with that H.264 plus mode. So it's set to the highest, 500 megabits per second. You don't need to enable Snapdragon Game Super Resolution because you already have the resolution at 144 hertz to begin with. In the other page, you can leave this to automatic. Sharpening at 75 is perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and demo these settings here, but those are the best settings that you can get for virtual desktop, in my opinion, right now, based on the router of having a Wi-Fi 7 router. If you have a 1 gig internet line, obviously, then you can set this as high as it goes. If you can't, because you don't have a 1 gig line, then obviously use the AV1 Quest 3 that I showed you before and still use Godlike and 90 frames per second. Now, let's go ahead and launch SteamVR here. Now, don't forget, I am recording from the PC that is streaming this stuff to me. Not only that, but I'm also recording off the Quest 3 to show you this stuff as well. So, my latency and stuff may be a little higher than it probably should be just because of, you doing all this stuff at the same time. Now, here we are with 11 table tennis. So you can see 11 table tennis is running. Now here we are with 11 table tennis, so you can see I'm running on a max bit rate H.264 plus on the Quest 3 at 500 megabits per second maxed out. You can see how good my latency is. It is at, I don't know if you guys can see this overlay, so I'm reading it off to you guys because I don't remember if you guys see it or not. Frame rate is at 90 FPS, latency is at 37 right now, 500 megabits per second, H.264 plus on the Quest 3, connected to my 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi using Wi-Fi 7 technology. The game, 2 milliseconds of lag, encoding 4 milliseconds, networking 4 milliseconds, decoding 11 milliseconds at a 5090, at Godlike, at a render resolution of 100%, target frame rate at 90, video buffering yes, automatic bit rate no, so it's not all adjusting my bit rate, and Space Warp is on automatic if it ever needs it. So you can see how good this is about to run here on the Quest 3. I mean, you couldn't play this game with latency that's not sitting at around 35 to 40 frames per second like this is right now, because it just wouldn't work. It would be too high of a thing to be able to play a game like this. And my PC has never, my router before has never allowed for something like this to be run before. I'm going to take the overlay off of the screen just in case, because we don't need to see it the whole entire time. We already know the latency is going to be there, sitting at that 35 to 40 for this game like I showed you. But you wouldn't be able to see this gameplay of me hitting this ball like this if the latency wasn't as good as it was, because anything above like 45 in this game I think is just too high, because then you just can't react in time, and you're gonna have you're gonna have some issues running that. But this feels like I'm running it natively on the Quest, and I would know the difference, which is an amazing feat considering that I can never do that on my previous router. Even though it was a Wi-Fi 6 router, it just wasn't good enough to be able to do it. Just wasn't good enough. I'm not doing so well showing my skills, but yeah, it just wasn't good enough to do it because, one, the router was downstairs in the basement. That was definitely a big thing. Even though I was connected to the 6 gigahertz, band, it still reached up here. with 2 bars out of 3, so it wasn't like it wasn't connecting. But that was obviously a little bit of a factor, but it was the fact that Wi-Fi 7 does make a big difference on keeping up with these high bit rates. You know, and the other big thing, like I talked about in the overview, is of course having your own Wi-Fi 6 separated band for just VR, like I do right now, so I don't have to worry about my other devices interfering, like my Samsung Galaxy and stuff. Both of those things make a big difference to how good this is performing right now compared to my previous ASUS router that I had. Yes, this router was expensive, but you definitely, you know, get what you pay for. I'm doing terrible to showcase any sort of skill, but I'm going to blame it on the fact that I'm talking and playing at the same time. But the latency here is just insane. You can see it has not stuttered once. It just runs, and I'm recording on the Quest 3, which is insane. So even if it did stutter, it wouldn't be because of the networking. It would be because I'm recording on this headset while playing a game, and I'm recording on the PC that the game is streaming from. So I mean, there's a lot going on, and I'm still getting this crazy good, you know, performance that I'm getting out of this. It's just amazing. The only thing I'm not getting right now is the skills that I usually have in this game. But like I said, I'm blaming it on the fact that I'm talking. Because talking and playing is not easy. I just made 3 in a row though, so. Well, that was terrible. But yeah, I'm super impressed with this router. Yes, it cost me $600 on sale. It came out at $800, which is insane for a router. Even the sale price is insane, but to be a part of the Wi-Fi 7 train and actually see, yes, the Quest 3 doesn't support. It's too bad the Quest 3 doesn't support Wi-Fi 7, because if it did, the performance might be even better because of it. But it doesn't support Wi-Fi 7, but it does support Wi-Fi 6, which is what I'm connected to. Just not the Wi-Fi, just not the 7 bands, the 7, you know, just not these 7, you know, improvements that we talked about before. So you're not going to be able to get, you know, the faster 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi on here. It will just be 6 gigahertz the way it was before. So hopefully the next Quest definitely has Wi-Fi 7 so we can get even better performance. But this is, you know, pretty fucking good, in my opinion, running Wi-Fi 6. Let's see if we can pull this one out real quick. That was a good shot. And that was terrible. Oops. Side it up again. Damn it. Messed it up. That's alright. Played a good game. Let's go ahead and turn this off here. So let me just show you guys another game here, just as an example. First of all, let's look into SteamVR Home. Let's bring back the overlay here by hitting both of our thumbsticks in. You can see in SteamVR, again, running at that same stuff that I was talking about before. We're getting about 45 megabits per second, you know, give or take, while we're looking at here. And the resolution in here looks insane. Everything looks nice and crisp on these lenses. It looks, you know, as good as PCVR wireless streaming can look like on the Quest 3. That's basically the settings I just gave you. You can't make it look any better than this. This is how good it could look when you have all the proper hardware and routers and, you know, fast internet and a 5090 all running this. I mean, this is as good as it gets right now. And the latency is just really good now with this router and the way it's actually performing, which is really good to see. Let's go ahead and launch Half-Life Alyx just to wrap up some thoughts here, just to show you guys a little bit of what that latency is going to look like and stuff when you're playing a more demanding game, one of the most demanding games that you could play. Half-Life Alyx on here, and you can see it loading up here. So here at the main menu, we're getting about 50 megabits per second, which is not a surprise, because obviously the more demanding the game, obviously the higher the latency, because the chipset inside the headset's going to take more time to decode the game and encode the game back to you. So sometimes, like, you need to have a powerful PC and stuff. But here we are with Half-Life Alyx here. Like I said, we're getting about 45 to 55, which is exactly what I expected at 500 megabits per second. Right now, sometimes it's dropping down to 38. sometimes with the megabits or with the latency. So in my opinion, really, really good. I mean, for a story-based game like this is nothing to complain about. It looks fantastic on here. It looks like a true PCVR game. It looks, you know, as good as Half-Life Alyx will ever look like on the Quest 3. You're streaming wirelessly off your PC, and the latency is, you know, very good running off of this router. As good as it's going to get, because we don't have a Wi-Fi 7 support on the Quest 3, so we're not going to get that 35 like ish that you would get on a game like this. If you were running it on a Wi-Fi 7 chipset at 500 megabits per second, you would probably get closer to 35, because I've tested that on other headsets, and that is true. But with the Quest 3 not supporting Wi-Fi 7, you know, you're going to have to deal with, like, you know, 10 more ish latency because of the fact that Wi-Fi 7 is not actually something that the Quest 3 supports. But regardless, I mean, I'm not complaining. This looks amazing, and runs really great on the Quest 3. So yeah, that's all the virtual desktop settings I wanted to show you guys. These are the best settings for you to run the Quest 3 in 2025. Keep in mind, again, you need a really good router. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Wi-Fi 7 router because the Quest 3 doesn't support it, but I got the Wi-Fi 7 router to be future-proofed, and I also got it because I have other headsets that do support Wi-Fi 7 on other devices, so of course I would. So I tested it with this, and the 6 gigahertz bands being separated out definitely does help on this router, which is not a feature that most routers have, which is really nice to have two 6 gigahertz runs that you can dedicate one to just VR, which is a pretty big thing. And that's really awesome with this router, and you're still getting really good Wi-Fi coverage with the way that this router is built, and I have no performance issues with this at all, even with the render resolution of 142% that I have going on with that resolution that we did. So I mean, things are looking really good in here. 90 frames per second on Half-Life Alyx right now with the latency of 49 is kind of insane. And yeah, just have that router, a really good router that you have that supports at least 6 gigahertz for the Quest 3. I'd recommend you, if you're going to buy a new router, just buy the Wi-Fi 7, so you're kind of future-proofed and ready for the Quest 4 and other VR headsets that are going to support Wi-Fi 7. But at least a 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Even better if it's in the same room that you're playing in, because that would obviously help. Make sure your PC is wired up with Ethernet, because you need that PC that's going to be sending the game to you on Ethernet. Make sure you have a really fast internet connection. You know, 1 gig line is obviously preferred. You don't have to have that. Like I said, you can go drop down to AV1 for the Quest 3 that runs at 200 megabits per second and have a much slower internet. You don't need a 1 gig line for that. You obviously need, you know, at that point, like, you know, 300-400 to keep some balance out of there. But, you know, that depends on what you can get in your area. But man, when you have everything singing like this, it is definitely a sight to behold. So guys, if you guys want to support me and the channel, there will be links for virtual desktop down below, and for a Quest 2, if you guys still haven't bought one, I'll have links for that down below as well. And the router, if you guys want to support you know, me, all that stuff will be linked down below. And thank you guys for watching. Until next time.